3 o'clock, which means it's time for the Cattles and Ramie show. That's next.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon.
Cattles and Ramie.
I describe him as the best, obviously.
It's Cattles.
He throws it out there, speaks his mind. That's cool.
It's Ramie.
He's supposed to make people laugh. He's just an expert at it.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports, 1140.
Oh, what a night, what a night, what a night for the Sacramento Kings. What a night for Kings fans. What a bad night for Buddy Hield and Tyrese Haliburton. It is a celebration today on this Thursday. Thanks for joining us as always. It is much appreciated. Cattles, no Ramie today. Ramie's still a little bit under the weather. He is hopeful. He is hopeful for his illustrious return to the program tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Later on today for the final 2 hours of this show, friend, confidant, basketball genius Chris Watkins will join me in studio for a couple of hours to break down the Kings. And don't forget, I usually don't promote interviews that are like hours later in the show, but Doug Christie at 5 o'clock, that is something we need to promote. So DC will join us at 5 to talk about this team and what we saw last night. What I think we saw last night was a perfect night for the Kings. I mean, I don't know how better this night could have gone. When you sat there and you watched it at home, whether you were at Golden One Center, I mean, this was a perfect night. And yesterday on the show, I talked about expecting this to be a playoff atmosphere. I expected this crowd to be going bananas last night at Golden One. From the very jump, even before the jump, during the intros, we have been talking about this Tyrese Haliburton Buddy Hield return since the trade happened early this year. And we finally got that last night. Haliburton as a Pacer, Hield as a Pacer, Domas as a King. They were all there so we can sit back, relax, and enjoy a very fun game. And the playoff atmosphere was there. I'm telling you right now, for the people that were at that game last night, congratulations, you were hot. You were on fire. And I could feel it through the TV. I was jealous. I could not be there. I was doing the Kings recap show after the game last night on the YouTube channel from my home studio. So I watched the game from my living room. But I'm telling you, man, you could feel it through the TV. You could feel the energy. You could hear the noise. You could see the excitement. And in the postgame, pretty much to a man, a lot of the Kings were talking about the crowd last night. First, let's hear from Kevin Huerter.
It was something I said to Keegan on the bench. I'm like, there's not a lot of places like this in end of November, early December that are this loud and people are this into a game. So it's something to kind of come to getting used to at this point. But our fans, again, were really good for us tonight.
Fans were really good for us tonight. Said he was telling Keegan, yeah, hey, Keegan, this isn't normal. Like, this isn't just a normal NBA city in November. You usually don't get this kind of vibe for a regular season game. If you think this is what it's going to be like everywhere we go, you're wrong. Yeah. It's different here. I'm telling you, it's different. That was Kevin Huerter saying it is different here in Sacramento. Here was Domas.
It's amazing, the fans, every game, they've been amazing. Tonight was so loud, it feels awesome. And it was just awesome to come out, secure the win, don't have to come out in the fourth quarter, so it felt good.
And look, I'm 12 days away from being here in Sacramento for a year. My first day of work was December 13th. And I quickly realized how Sacramento was different. I quickly realized how passionate this fan base was. When I was watching games at the end of last year, this team obviously had no chance to do anything. And there were a lot less fans at a game than were there last night. And I remember the Kings playing good basketball and hearing the crowd going nuts. 8, 9, 10,000 people, if that, making as much noise as they were making. And I sat back and I said, this fan base is passionate. This fan base wants good basketball. It needs good basketball. It thirsts for good basketball. And then I met many of you, and I've worked here for the last year. And I understand this city is unlike most cities in this country when we talk about NBA markets. It is as passionate, if not more passionate, than any fan base that is walking on God's green earth. And I mean that. And I've seen a lot of different fan bases. And the players know that. The players feel that. Here's Malik Monk.
Yeah, man, the fans are always great, man. It's always loud in here too, man. And like you said, we feed off their energy, and I'm just happy to be a part of this thing, man, and lighten the beam. That's what we've been trying to do. I like the fans chant, man. I like everything about this. So
yeah, how about that chant? How about that chant? 6.5 minutes left in the game, fourth quarter. Light the beam chants happening. Tremendous stuff. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports, just Cattles, no Ramie. Hashtag as expected that crowd last night. I mean, it was so good. It was expected. We knew it was going to happen, and it was tremendous. And for all the people that are sitting there nationally saying, oh, they should still move the team because for some reason that is still a narrative that pops up every 4 to 6 months, can we stop it? Just stop it. It's ridiculous. There's no reason to move the team. This fan base is great. Can't control ownership decisions and front office decisions. It's about the management. It's about finding talent. And this team is talented. And this team is playing fun basketball. And you're seeing the fans reacting to it. You got to give the fans something that they can cheer for and show up for and pay for. This game was a blowout by the end of the third quarter. I mean, everybody, it was like New Orleans by the end of the third quarter. It's a Bourbon Street happening. We had purple beams in the crowd. I saw people with those. Listen, I'm not a Star Wars guy. What do they call those? What do we do?
Lightsaber.
Lightsaber. There we go. Purple lightsabers.
The hoof.
People going bananas. And when you watch this team, it's just fun. It's such a fun brand of basketball. It really is. And look, it's not just about the pomp and circumstance. It's not just about the atmosphere. It's not just about winning the game. It's the fact that you beat a good team. Like right now, look, Indiana, when we get to March, might not be good. We get to February, might not be good. They're going to probably make trades. Miles Turner was terrible last night. Now we know why they marketed him, the Kings over there. Come out and see Miles Turner be terrible. Turner was awful last night. He was god-awful. But he's probably getting traded. Buddy's probably getting traded. Who else on that team's going to get traded? I don't know. I'd say Mathurin and Hallie are probably the only two complete untouchables. So they're going to make changes. But right now, they're walking into Golden One last night at 12-8, coming off of a win against the Lakers. They were down by 17 in the fourth quarter, playing with unbelievable amounts of confidence. Haliburton being talked about as a perennial all-star. You beat a good team last night. Right now, Indiana is a good team. They're a top 5 or 6 team in the Eastern Conference. So it's not just, the lightsabers. Did I get that right? Lightsaber? Yeah? Got that right? Good. Lightsabers. Thank you. It's not just the cowbells before the game with 50 Cent out there. It's not about that stuff. It's about the tangible things. The significant and substantive things. And that's beating a good basketball team. And not just beating them, embarrassing them. Because that's what you did. And even better, you were able to have that atmosphere. You were able to embarrass a good team coming off of a 3-game losing streak. That's exactly the kind of game you wanted to see after losing to Atlanta, Boston, and Phoenix 3 in a row. You didn't want survival mode. You wanted the Kings to make a statement. And how do you make a statement? You wax a professional basketball team like they waxed the Pacers last night. That's how you do it. It's a fun night. Kings fans, certainly excited for good reason. I want your thoughts. I want your thoughts on the atmosphere. I want your thoughts about the game. Anything you want to talk about regarding the Kings last night and what we're watching, feel free. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Of course, you can always plop your thoughts in the chat channel there at YouTube, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. And when you're there at YouTube, also don't forget to like the channel. That helps us. That's why we ask for it. We ask for it because it's a little effort from you. All you got to do is like the YouTube channel. And when you like the channel, more eyeballs get to see the product and the content. That's how YouTube works. Social media algorithms. If you click like, takes you a second, helps us tremendously. So please do so. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. I'll get to your reaction about last night's game. Also coming up in 90 seconds, it was a rough night for Tyrese Haliburton.
You'll find Kevin Herter is Sactown Sports.
He scores the triple. Kevin Herter from downtown.
Hey, Sacramento, it's Kevin Herter, and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sactown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
A good cook relies on the best ingredients, and so does Napoleon. Nick Cattle saying, start your Christmas preparations right with the amazing Napoleon Prestige line of outdoor cookers from California backyard. I've got a Napoleon stainless steel Pro Series gas grill in my backyard. It's on the patio. It's unbelievable. I've made burgers and steaks and chicken and all that good stuff on this grill. It is fantastic. And when I talk about Napoleon, I'm talking about a grill that is built to last, and I'm also talking about a grill that is made with premium steel that boasts quality. Check out Napoleon Grills today at any of the 4 nearby California backyard locations. Always the best, and I mean best, in backyard living. See California Backyard's huge selection of Napoleon grills and accessories today. And if you can't catch it in person, go online, Napoleon.com.
Spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports, 1140.
That was fun last night. I'm at like 40 minutes, the recap show. I'm going to tell you, too, Verlot, I was gassed. I was gassed last night. I could hardly keep my eyes open, but, man, when I popped on the StreamYard after that game, I went 40 minutes. It's fantastic.
I'm picturing you like Jordan after the flu game.
I walked out of the home broadcast spot, little man cave I got there. I honestly walked out of there and I said to Kelly, I'm done. I'm fried. I sat on the couch, had a pudding, and watched AEW. Like,
never let the party die.
I was like, I need to decompress. I'm gonna put some wrestling on. Gonna watch some Dynamite, kick back a little bit, relax, hang out with the dog. I was gassed, but it was fun. And I'm telling you, the listeners carried me through that last night, that post show, because man, oh man, what a game to watch. Want your thoughts on last night's bludgeoning of the Indiana Pacers. Kings played fantastic basketball. It was great to watch. I was talking about how great the fan base is, and I'm not pandering to you. If you weren't a very good fan base, I just wouldn't bring it up. Honestly, I just wouldn't talk about the fan base if you stunk. But you don't. You don't. You're fantastic. You're passionate. And I've learned that the year I've been here. And I was talking about how it's, the best fan base, one of the best fan bases in the NBA. And John Williams jumped in and said best in sports, period. Brent McCoy talking about it. That's right. Brent McCoy checking in says Pacers faded into the purple. I like that. Faded into the purple. I'm also a big fan of alliteration. Pacers, purple, it works. J. Lopez, AA. I think Jay Lopez AA joined me last night during the recap show. Monk is a way better player than Buddy Hield. Yes, he is. Adding Malik and Kevin is such an upgrade. McNair deserves a lot of love. He does. Monty McNair had a great offseason.
I believe in Monty McNair.
I do too. We all should. We all should believe in Monty McNair. And this isn't hindsight 2020, folks. Like, we talked about this during the offseason. I loved the Kevin Herter trade. Went on the air and said it. Loved it. Loved the Malik Monk signing. I said, as long as he plays some decent defense, Monk is a great signing. And he's been better than I thought he would be. Monk was a great signing. Keegan is struggling. There's no doubt about that. I think he will find his level. He'll figure it out. He'll be okay. But a great offseason. A great offseason with depth and talent on this team, and you saw it last night. And it's fun. It's absolutely a blast watching a team that not only plays a fun brand of basketball like this team does, but they also win. Because you can play a fun brand of basketball and lose, and it's not that fun anymore. So let's talk about Hallie and Hield last night, because last night we had all of the, conversation and discussion talking about the atmosphere and how fans would react to Hield and Hallie. The text line 916-339-1140. It's most electric I've ever seen Golden One Center. Thanks for the text. Again, it's 916-339-1140. And we were wondering about how the fans would react to Haliburton and Hield. Well, in the introductions, Hallie was cheered. Hield was booed. Hield was booed. Hield was booed from the moment he touched the floor to the moment he left the floor. If Kings fans could have followed Buddy Hield into the locker room last night through the tunnel and booed him, they would have. They would have walked right behind him, boo, the whole time. Boo in his ear. Boo. They gave it. They gave it to Buddy Hield last night. Absolutely went after him. Here was Haliburton on the reaction from the fans.
Yeah, meant a lot. I've said multiple times what this place means to me, what these people mean to me. You see, there's a lot of people out here in my jersey, a lot of people showing my pops love and my mom love and my girl love, throughout the day, all around town. So means a lot, man.
So Hallie, he appreciated it. He loved what he heard. He enjoyed it. Look, cheering Hallie, I thought was the right thing. I said it on the show yesterday. Cheer him in the intro. Treat him like the opposition as soon as the game starts. And I feel like that's what the Golden One Center did last night. And the vast majority of fans did exactly that. They cheered Haliburton. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you. Haliburton, when he was here, it hasn't been the case since he left, but when he was here, he said all the right things about Sacramento and trying to build the culture and all of that. He was totally in the program. He did not want to be traded. He wanted to be here. He played hard for you every night when he was here. We all would have loved him to take some more shots, but it is what it is. He gave his heart. He loved being here. I liked seeing him getting cheered. I said I would have cheered him last night if I were there. Now, as far as Buddy Hield, I said I would have been deliciously indifferent. I would have not had a reaction to Buddy. I would have just watched. Yep, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Buddy Hield. But the Golden One Center decided to boo him out of town. And Paul Riddle, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140, did not like that. Paul says the booing Buddy was absolute Bush League. East Coast fans do that garbage. Verlad, do you think booing Buddy Hield was Bush League last night?
No.
No?
Would I have booed him? No, but I understand it.
I was wondering, right? And I see many of you. There's a lot of comments coming in. I love every single one of you on YouTube. And your microphone, I'm hearing you, Chris.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. It happens. I see a lot of people, weighing in. Cole G weighing in. I see you, TC. I see you, Ryan and Sactown. I can't get to every single one of your comments as I get rolling here. Fun Tones, I see you. But I didn't think it was Bush League. I didn't think it was Bush League. And I thought it was interesting. I don't know if it's only me, but there was some mystery of why Buddy Hield was getting booed last night. Why would you boo Buddy? Mark Jones and Katie Christensen, they were almost offended that Buddy Hield was getting booed. I don't know if it was just me, but I said this yesterday. Before Buddy was traded last year, everything about him felt like he wanted out. Everything. The way he acted in LA when he was talking to Jeannie Buss, he's shaking Doc Rivers' hand during a basketball game or whatever's happening there. You lose by 50 or 60 in Boston, and he's in the post game dancing around and talking to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And I'll never forget this because I wanted to make sure last year that I wasn't out of bounds. I don't know if you remember, Chris, but I asked Coach Gentry at a point because Buddy Hield's comportment was just not good. He's the way he was playing the game, it was kind of careless. He screamed to me like somebody who just wanted out. And I asked Coach Gentry last year when we had him on the show, I said, have you talked to Buddy Hield? And he said, yeah, I've talked to him before, but the players are talking to him now, which told me when Alvin Gentry, who has been in the league forever, when Gentry said that to me, I thought it was rather obvious that he was telling us, yeah, we're not really happy with what Buddy Hield is doing. We're not happy with how he's acting. And yes, we've addressed it, the coaches and the players. So I think a lot of the crowd felt that last year. I think a lot of the crowd said, hey, you wanted out, now you're out. Boo! And that's what they gave him. Now, as far as the basketball, I thought Tyrese was completely out of sync last night. He couldn't find any rhythm to his game. He was 4 for 13 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, finished with 9 points and 10 dimes. I just thought Hallie looked very, very uncomfortable. Hield looked more comfortable. He finished with 17 and 4. He played okay. But I just, I thought Hallie did not really look like himself. I thought he forced some shots last night. And I know he's been taking more shots in Indiana. We talked about it yesterday. But the shots he took last night, he was taking a number of bad shots. It felt like, to me, he was pressing. He wanted to impress. He wanted to show Monte McNair and the Kings organization that they made a mistake. He wanted to make a statement. And I thought almost to the point where he tried too hard. And he took himself out of any kind of rhythm. Here was Domas in the postgame.
I think, we were just aggressive on the pick and rolls. Guys were switching, getting into him, not letting him get a shot off. And I don't know, I didn't guard him as much, but I give props to our guard.
So there's Domas saying, hey, I didn't guard Haliburton too much, but we got into his space. We fought some of the screens. We did what we had to do. And, I think he's right. Made it hard, whether it was Fox or it was Davion, just made it harder on Haliburton last night. And now, do you move on? The next time Haliburton comes to town, is it even a big deal? Is it time to move on? Is it time to put the past in the past? Here was Hallie in his postgame.
I mean, it's going to be here my whole career. And any answer that I give to questions that I'm asked, you guys are going to talk about. So I can't control that. I'll just answer questions that I'm asked on a nightly basis. I don't know what y'all want me to do. Y'all want me to decline people's questions or whatever the case may be. So, I can't control that. And it's going to follow me because, just like I know, like the culture of basketball, they like to talk about the Kings in a negative way, even when they're doing well. So I can't control that. Like I said, I've had an immature view on things. When I first got traded, I said some things that I probably shouldn't have said in terms of making them regret things, making people want to think about the Kings whenever I do well. I can't control that. That's past me. I've grown up. I've matured a little bit. But that's just going to be connected to me forever, and that's just how it is.
Great job to wrap that up. What he said in the final 20 seconds was perfect. Took accountability. Before the game yesterday, he was kind of blaming the media about everything. I've been taken out of context a million times. Last night he said, I said some wrong things. I was immature when I got traded. I said some things that, I probably shouldn't have, but I'm now mature. I'm more mature than I was, back then. And good for Haliburton. The players, the teams, they will be forever linked. Trades do not vanish. And it's all about the long-term play out. But I do think, now that Haliburton had his return and Hield had his return, I do think things will settle down a little bit. Although, Buddy Hield, he might always hear it. He might hear it every single time, no matter where he's playing. Tremendously tremendous. 916-339-1140 is the text line. Don't forget, we have a great website for you to check out, sactownsports.com. Up next, I'll talk about the stretch last night that changed the game.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Okay, smile naturally. Perfect.
Cam's photography knows wedding season ramps up in a flash.
Smidge closer.
They need to say I do to a studio assistant before clients go full bridezilla.
I'm so sorry. I have to get a different lens. I'll be right back.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Life is full of choices. When buying a car, there's only one choice. Northern California's #1 Honda dealer, Stockton Honda. Choose from our great selection and get top dollar.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
A Heisman hopeful goes down. The second-ranked Michigan Wolverines has lost their Heisman hopeful for the Big Ten championship game versus Purdue. According to the NFL Network, running back Blake Corum will miss the game due to a knee injury, which will require surgery. It is unknown what the recovery time will look like for Corum or whether he will be cleared to play if Michigan makes it to the college football playoff. In the NFL, the 49ers may or may not be without Christian McCaffrey as his status is up in the air due to a knee injury. He's considered day-to-day. And the Buffalo Bills, they'll be without linebacker Von Miller. As he's been placed on the IR, he'll miss the next 4 games due to a knee injury as well. There's only one game on the slate today in the NBA as the Dallas Mavericks visit the Pistons on 8 Mile. And some sad news to report today as Hall of Famer pitcher Gaylord Perry passed this morning of natural causes. He was 82. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie Show. That's next.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
You're talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie.
Sactown Sports 1140.
I've been a singles wrestler all week. Ramie out sick. Chris Watkins, though, will save me for the final 2 hours of this show. Chris will be in from 4 to 6. We'll have Doug Christie joining us at 5. And by the way, if you're a fantasy football fan or owner, you got some questions, feel free to get ready to send us your questions on the text line 916-339-1140. You can also send us some of your questions in the YouTube chat, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Casey Joyner, fantasy football expert, will join us in about 15 minutes. Back to the Kings last night. Tremendous game for the Kings. I don't know how much you can bicker with last night's performance, but I will say this. There was one crucial stretch in this game last night. And I'm not so sure the Kings win last night if the stretch didn't happen. Let me bring you to the most crucial part of the night. We had the dreaded lull. I've been talking about these dreaded lulls in games for the last couple of weeks, right? I mean, I've been talking about where the team just gets a little stagnant. They give up a big run. It happened against Phoenix 2 or 3 times on Monday night. And we had another dreaded lull last night against the Pacers. All of a sudden, the offense, nobody's moving. Like, nobody's moving without the basketball. Domas is trying to yell at his teammates to move. Nobody's moving. Everybody's just standing around. For some reason, there's just stagnant offense. Stagnant offense usually means with this team, turnovers, because they're not sharing the basketball, not enough man movement, ball movement. Somebody tries to do too much, drives into traffic, or throws a bad pass, and it's a turnover. So all of a sudden in the third quarter, you start to see that stagnant offense. Kings turn the ball over not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. Jalen Smith is on an absolute heater. 7 of 7 from the field. 18 points in the third quarter alone. I mean, dude looked like Kevin Durant in the third quarter. And you're sitting there watching the game. At least I was sitting there watching the game going, well, here's the lull. I tweeted it out. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Nick C Radio, again, it's at Nick C Radio. I tweeted, here's that lull I always talk about on the show. We're smack dab in the middle of it. And the lead went from like 24-25 down to 14. And it's at that moment when the Kings have to make sure that they check themselves at the door and understand we've got to fight back. Because the Pacers at that moment have all the momentum. The Kings' offense is looking sluggish. They're turning the ball over. Because of them turning the ball over, the Pacers are getting some easy buckets. Jalen Smith is feeling himself. And it's at that moment when your lead goes from 24-25 down to 14, it's that moment you got to figure things out. Domas picks up his 4th personal foul. By the way, terrible call. Phantom call. Nobody was touched by Domas. He didn't touch anybody. And they gave him his 4th foul. So you're in the middle of this kind of sluggish play, right? You're in the middle of this Indiana run. You've got Domas picking up a phantom foul for his 4th. He's got to go to the bench. Then you get Malik Monk's flagrant foul 1, which I thought was the right call, by the way. You can't elbow a dude in the neck. So you've got Malik Monk's flagrant foul 1 call. And now you're looking at this, and the game is getting away from you. The game is getting away from you. And now you're looking at this and you're going, oh, man, we're up by like 12. Like you were just up by 24, 25 points. Now you look up, you're up by 12. And you could feel it. And again, it's that moment right there in the third quarter when you've got to look at yourself and you've got to say, we can't allow this to continue to happen. We have to put a stop to this. And that's precisely what the Kings did. A necessary and much needed haymaker is what they threw at the Pacers. The Kings got knocked back to the corner. They had their lull. Domas is on the bench. Flagrant foul against Monk. You're kind of staggering back to the corner. And are you going to sit there and let them keep throwing punches? Or are you going to throw back? And the Kings threw back, and they threw back some heavy hands, man. They threw back a haymaker. Malik Monk playmaking, dribbles into the paint, then dribbles around and finds TD for a three. TD, next possession, comes up with the steal, gets it to Herter, so Herter can finish on the fast break, and boom, right there. The Kings give you a 12-2 run. A 12-2 run. And you just went from having a 24, 25-point lead down to a 12-point lead, back up to a 22-point lead. And as soon as the Kings threw that haymaker back at the Pacers, that game was over, done, finito, forget about it. There was no way after that 12-2 run when the Kings responded and the crowd was going bananas, there was no way the Pacers were coming back in that game last night. It was finished. It was the death knell for them. That was the critical point of the game because you took the Pacers' best shot and you were stumbling around and you were able to find your wits and throw the haymaker back and land that haymaker and go on that run and build your lead, and then you got to cruise in the fourth quarter. That was the moment of the game. Here's Domas.
We got to do whatever we can do to win. In the NBA, they always say, like, once you lose 3 in a row, you got to figure it out. You can't go to 4. You can't start that trend, those losing habits. So we came out, we watched scout. We all prepared. We had a couple of days to get ready, and we came out and we executed.
Domas is right. He's right. And that's an improvement. You can't let it snowball. You can't let those moments of the game, right? You can't let those runs knock you down and keep you down. You can't allow a, 8-2 run become a 16-2 run. You can't allow those kinds of runs over and over and over again. At some point, you've got to put the foot down. Now, yes, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to deal with any of these lulls. We could get through these lulls and not worry about them anymore and say, thank God, goodbye to the lulls. But if you have the lull like you had last night, you have to respond accordingly. And if you get hit with a right cross, you've got to return fire. You can't sit back and continue to get hit in the jaw and just say, oh, that's it, I'm done. And the most vital aspect of all of it, to slow down these kinds of lulls and these runs, you have to make sure that you play defense through the tough offensive times. You can't allow your stagnant offense to impact your defense. But that was the critical part of the game last night. That 12-2 run in the third quarter after taking Indiana's best shot. And remind you, Sac State football hosting a playoff game. It's happening on Saturday, 2 p.m., Hornet Stadium. Go get your tickets at hornetsports.com. Fantasy football owners, yes, we're going to take a step away from the Kings talk, but we're right back at 4 o'clock, and then the rest of the show, we're Kings all the way through until I say goodbye to you. But coming up, we've got Casey Joyner, fantasy football expert. He joins us each and every Thursday, and he will answer your fantasy football questions, 916-339-1140. You can text them to us. You can call as well, 1-800-920-1140, or if it's easier, you can check us out, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. You have fantasy questions, send them to us right now because our fantasy football expert, Casey Joyner, joins us next.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Time to talk some fantasy football with our friend KC Joyner, footballscientist.com. He's also from The Athletic. You can follow along his Thursday Night Football blog tonight during the Patriots-Bills game. And I remind you that all guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Casey, let's start with a text. Gabe Davis or Cortland Sutton says PPR league projected to lose by 4 points. Go for the swing or the safe floor?
Oh, that is a tough call. I'm not expecting Davis to do that much tonight, but I'll say this. The Patriots have won all their games. They've allowed fewer than 20 points and have lost all the games they allow 20 or more. So I think the Bills are going to be swinging the fences. You know what? In that kind of a situation, I'm probably going Davis. You might get the floor, but you got to play for the ceiling. You can't trust something.
All right, let's go to the text line again, 916-339-1140. If you have a fantasy football question, who should I start at wide receiver, Juju or Valdez-Scantling?
I would probably, again, similar to the first question, I would probably go Juju in most cases. If you're needing an upside play, if you've got to get the big points, go for Valdez-Scantling because he is the vertical threat. Juju is a bit banged up, and they've got some other targets they can go to, but I still see him as being a high floor guy. So percentage play there, but go for the home run if you need. If you go MBS, you need a home run.
KC Joyner is with us again. If you have a fantasy football question, we're getting close to playoff time. Hit us up, 916-339-1140 is the text line. Of course, you can always get us on YouTube, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Let's go to YouTube. Question from Brad. KC, who do we play at captain spot tonight on DraftKings? Josh Allen, or do you take a flyer?
Again, the Bills. Look, the Bills are what I think they're 8-1 if I remember correctly in games where they've scored more than 20 points, and they are 0-2 in games where they haven't scored 20 points. So the Bills know they need to get big points tonight. I think that they're going to try to press this thing and get into a kind of like what happened last week. The Patriots tried to get in the shootout and it didn't go well for them. I think the Bills did the same thing. I got to play Allen.
We stay on YouTube. Question from our friend Simone. Tight ends, Njoku or Jay Johnson?
Njoku or Jay Johnson? I'm going Njoku as long as the injury report doesn't change. I like his matchup there. Juwan Johnson, I goose egg just last week. That scares me a lot. I dropped him down 11 in my tight end charts because I just can't. That 0 points is just that's a floor you can't live with.
Another text line 916-339-1140. George Pickens or Gabe Davis? They say they're leaning towards Pickens.
Again, Pickens is a better percentage play. The Pittsburgh offense, look on Monday night, they were very consistent, they have big play offense, but he's a guy who can hit big plays. I think because he gets enough volume and because he does have the potential to hit a big play, I probably would play him over Davis because I didn't know as compared to Sutton. I like Pickens upside a lot more.
Another text question: Justin Fields or Derek Carr?
Fields was full practice today, and as long as if he does that tomorrow, I'm going Fields. Unless something comes up injury-wise that says that he's not going to be back out there, I definitely have to go with him. Even if he runs the ball a little bit less than he did, he's still a better play than Carr.
Fantasy football question, send it to KC Joyner right now. You can do that via text, 916-339-1140. You can also give us a phone call as well at 1-800-920-1140, and you can send us a chat, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Casey is on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Casey, I want to go back to Josh Allen for a minute. Obviously, he has a big history against the Patriots the last 2 games. But aside from the game tonight, looking forward, any concerns about his level of play falling off a bit?
Bills have been allowing a lot more pass rush of late. That's a problem for him. His passing production, if you look at his pass production, I wrote about this last week for The Athletic in my Fantasy Football Roundup article. And his passing production after I think it was the first 5 games of the year, he did fantastic, and it's been mediocre since, and in some cases bad. I am worried about it from that sense, but the Bills' defense is also not playing that well, which means that Buffalo is going to have to get into high-scoring games, which means they'll still punt things through Allen. Plus, as much as he runs the ball, I think, like I say, he might not finish number 1 in quarterback points this year, but I still think he has a couple of 20-point games left in him.
Let's say you have Tua Tagovailoa, KC. Do you play him even though he's going against the San Francisco defense?
Right now, I've got him ranked 11th on my charts, in part because he has only 31 matchup points, 100 is a perfect score in that category, and it's a very difficult thing. I think they'll run the ball more this week. They've got Mostert coming back, so I think they'll be very run heavy. Having said that, I think though it's trying to some big plays against the 49ers defense because 49ers secondary is kind of banged up. But the quarterback ranks this week, by the way, it used to be just a couple weeks ago, there were only a few players that would be considered strong starters. 2 as the 11th of 11 strong starters this week. So like him, but just not that much.
KC Joyner with us, footballscientist.com, The Athletic. He does the Athletics blog tonight during Thursday Night Football if you want to check that out. Again, you can give us a call, 1-800-920-1140. Also text us at 916-339-1140. Or you can chat us, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Another one from YouTube, Stevenson or Singletary?
Stevenson or Singletary? I have got to go Stevenson because as mentioned, the Buffalo run defense has not been anywhere near as good. Like Singletary, but like Stevenson more.
All right, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers for a minute. How do you handle him with the injuries and the unknown? Or if he plays, are you playing him or you're holding back?
He's, again, 2 injuries. We're talking the thumb and the ribs, so it's tough. And when I've got him rated as I do overall upside and downside grades on my weekly rankings for my paid subscribers, and he's got a green rated upside ranking, which is good, but he's yellow rated in his overall grade. Yellow rated just means you're just not quite a starter caliber. I love the matchup, and if I had to play, if I'm in a Superflex league and look for somebody who might have huge upside, I'd probably put Rodgers out there from that perspective, but it's just a starting quarterback in most leagues. Right now he's 14th on my quarterback charts. He's not quite a starter.
All right, let's go back to the text line, 916-339-1140. Lawrence or Cousins?
I am going Lawrence this week. I don't like Cousins matchup at all. Jets are powerhouse defense.
Ooh, Gabe Davis or Zay Jones?
Zay Jones, as good as he's done of late, I think it's 23 receptions over the past 3 weeks. He's done fantastic. I'm definitely going Zay Jones. He's got as much upside as Gabe Davis.
Again, KC Joyner with us. He's on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. We stay on the text line. George Kittle or Conklin or Dulisic?
Oh,
tight end gotcha, huh?
There's only 3 quality starters at tight end this week. 3 of the rest, and there's only 10 even. I mentioned the yellow rated. Yellow rated is okay if I have to start him, I will, like a bye week starter. There's only 10 tight ends even with that. Everybody else is either orange or red. It's just terrible at tight end this week. So Kittle ranks 6th despite the fact he's played awful. I got to go Kittle.
Let me see. Any guys that have played well, KC, that owners might feel really good about, but then you look at them and you say, maybe you should be a little bit more concerned with the playoff matchups they're going to have?
I'm thinking I'd say a couple of running backs I'm worried about are Alvin Kamara and Dameon Pierce. They've both not been playing well of late. They tried to make Kamara a bell cow. He's not. They did the same thing with Pierce. Pierce, you look at this in college rushing. What do you have, like 8 games of 10 or more carries in college? He just has nothing. The guy's never been a bell cow, and Houston just said, we don't care. We'll keep giving him the ball. I think he's wore down this year, and so's Kamara. I think they're both going to not do quite as well down this stretch because on a related note, get Samaje Perine and even consider getting Tevin Coleman. I think Tevin Coleman could be somebody who could rotate into the roster for the Niners. And I do like Samaje Perine because I think the Bengals are not going to keep giving Mixon bell cow. They'll make that a lead alternate or platoon setup.
Well, as a Dameon Pierce owner, you just made me very upset. Last one for you, KC. Let's sneak in a defense question. Any sneaky defenses to stash as we do get closer to playoff time?
Sneaky defenses to stash. I think Seattle's defense is playing a whole lot better than people give them credit for. It'd be one I would consider. The Browns are playing better. The Dolphins don't play right well this week, but their defense is doing fairly well. I don't know. Most of the good defenses are really taken up right now, but those are defenses I would strongly consider rostering. A couple others. Man, I don't know. There's really not that many others. But the Steelers, by the way, I would say that the Steelers have been playing a lot better. I think their value is going to keep going up, and they're going to be a defense. They'll be a high-floor defense at least.
KC, you're the man. We'll talk to you next week. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. There goes KC Joyner, footballscientist.com. Also works for The Athletic. He will be writing the Thursday Night Football blog tonight as you follow along with the Patriots and Bills. And, of course, as all guests are, KC was on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Another football note locally here. Eric Armstead just told reporters a short time ago that he plans on playing this weekend. So could you imagine that Niners defense getting even more talent? Whew. So Armstead will be back, according to Armstead, this week against the Dolphins. Interesting. 916-339-1140 is the text line. Phone number, 1-800-920-1140. Don't forget, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Like us. Let's beat the algorithm. You know, more likes we get, more eyeballs we get. YouTube doesn't show our content unless we drive the likes. That's how this thing works. Just being transparent with you. So if you want to help us out, click that like button, and we'll find more eyeballs, and we'll build that community, and it'll be a great, great thing. Speaking of great things, what was the most important development for the Kings last night? Find out next.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
A Heisman hopeful goes down. The second-ranked Michigan Wolverines has lost their Heisman hopeful for the Big Ten championship game versus Purdue. According to the NFL Network, running back Blake Corum will miss the game due to a knee injury, which will require surgery. It is unknown what the recovery time will look like for Corum or whether he will be cleared to play if Michigan makes it to the college football playoff. In the NFL, the 49ers may or may not be without Christian McCaffrey as his status is up in the air due to a knee injury. He's considered day-to-day. And the Buffalo Bills, they'll be without linebacker Von Miller as he's been placed on the IR. He'll miss the next 4 games due to a knee injury as well. On the pitch in the World Cup, 4 more countries have punched their ticket to the round of 16. Japan, Spain, Croatia, and Morocco will all move on to the knockout stage. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie Show.
Just 2 guys rubbing elbows, talking sports,
and lots of other stuff.
They always keep you on edge.
That's really crazy interesting.
It's Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
So for the first time this week, I got some company in the studio. Chris Watkins from SactownSports.com joining me. Covers the Kings for us along with his buddy Frankie C. There's Chris, the good old YouTube world. So Chris is going to join us over the next couple of hours because, frankly, I was getting lonely in the studio. A little lonely. Ramie's out. He's under the weather. We are hopeful Ramie will be back tomorrow. Not sure if Ramie will actually be in studio tomorrow, but we are hopeful he will be back tomorrow for the show. So Chris with us for the next couple of hours. We've got Doug Christie coming up at 5 o'clock. Can't wait to talk to DC after that big win last night. And let's talk about the win last night, Chris. I think a major reason why the Kings won that game last night was try not to drive off the road when I say this, everybody.
Everybody hold on.
Everybody calm down. Defense.
Whoa.
I know. Major reason why the Kings, I think, won last night was their defense. In the first half, I tweeted this. I said, the best thing about this game in this first half, the reason why they're winning this game in the first half, is the defense, and I ain't lying. I thought the defense was really good last night. They held Indiana to 21st quarter points. First half, late third quarter, I thought they ramped it up. And some of the things I saw, Chris, they were pressuring the basketball, right? We talk about impacting the ball, the pickup point, all those catchphrases when we talk defense in the NBA. And I thought the Kings did a very good job of pressuring the basketball, making Haliburton feel uncomfortable, getting in his space, which is something we haven't always seen from these guards, aside from Davion. Fox does it from time to time, and Fox has been better doing it this year than in the past. But it still isn't that consistent ball pressure unless Davion's out there. I thought we saw some of that last night. And the other thing that I saw that really jumped out at me, I thought they just played with urgency defensively last night. And we haven't always seen the urgency. Like, there's a difference between trying to rotate and showing urgency in your rotation. Right. Like understanding where the guy's going to be, where you have to be, and getting out there with some kind of urgency and intent to contest the shot versus, I'm going to get there eventually. I thought the pressure on the ball was better. I thought the urgency was there. The rotations were better. The contests were better. And the communication was better. I thought you could tell guys knew what they were supposed to be doing at a certain time versus trying to figure it out. How many times have we seen this year where guys kind of look lost? The communication is broken down, and all of a sudden 2 guys are going with one. You got a wide open layup or a wide open 3. And I wanted to ask you about the defense, and specifically, there was one defensive possession. I tweeted the video out at Nick C Radio. And it was the defensive possession. I think it was in the third quarter. It ended with a Barnes layup. And it was such a good defensive possession. I thought it was the defensive possession of the year up until this point that I jumped off of my couch and I grabbed my phone and I recorded the defensive possession and I tweeted it out last night. Again, you can go to Nick C Radio on Twitter to check that out. But it was, everybody was on a string. Everybody was reacting the right way. Everybody knew where to be. They were stopping dribble penetration. You had guys digging down at the basketball. I thought that was the best defensive effort from this team this season.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that assessment, or do you think it was some having to do with the Pacers as well?
Yeah, I'm having a tough time. I do think last night they played great defense, and they to your point, they did pressure Tyrese a lot, and I think that's something that Mike Brown has instilled not just last night, but we've seen him do that in the game against the home game against Golden State with Steph Curry towards the end of the game, where he forced Steph Curry to pass the ball and make other people beat them. Kevin Durant, he did a similar thing with. We saw Tyrese last night. Tyrese in Sacramento. I was joking yesterday with a couple different people that the Tyrese I remember in Sacramento is a 13-point a game scorer, 8 assist guy. And I say that more to point out the fact that he's kind of naturally not looking for his shot. He's not super aggressive and looking for his points. And I think the Kings knew that. They obviously have a familiarity with Tyrese Haliburton. They know his tendencies and how he likes to play. And Davion Mitchell 100% got in his grill and forced him to make other people make plays. And they also did a similar thing with Devin Booker the other night. It just didn't pan out. And Damian Lee, you saw hit tons of open threes.
Yep.
And I think last night that is, you're wearing your Patriots sweatshirt. That's something Bill Belichick's always enforcing is making what are you good at? All right, let's take that away and we'll see the second. We'll make you get to your second option.
Yeah.
The next level of great defense, something else Bill Belichick does is, okay, what's the worst thing you do? We're going to make you do that as much as possible. And that's kind of the evolution I want to see from this team defensively. But I definitely see a shift here in the past couple games on the defensive end. It's just honestly their offense that has let them down these past couple games. But defensively, they've definitely taken a step up.
Yeah, I just wish Belichick did that against Justin Jefferson and your
Yeah.
Minnesota
Well.
Vikings. Cattles and Ramie. Ramie out today. Chris Watkins in for Ramie for the next couple of hours here on Sactown Sports. Happy Thursday to you all. Fantastic game for the Kings last night. And, I thought, listen, when you can keep a team, even if Indiana took some quick shots, took some bad shots, when you could hold an NBA team down to 40% shooting from the floor, you're doing something right. When you can hold them to 32% from three, you're doing something right. They did a tremendous job on Hallie. They made him uncomfortable all night long. Here was head coach Mike Brown on the defense in the postgame.
For us, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and we just got to keep trying to get a little bit better every time we step on the floor. And I thought tonight was probably our most complete defensive game. Our guys did a great job with their responsibilities on the defense end of the floor, and I thought the communication was pretty good.
So Mike Brown said he was happy. He was thrilled with what he saw. And the question is, is this going to be a one-game thing, or is this going to be the new defensive look? Is it going to be consistent from here on out? And people might be surprised. I saw this tweet from Will Z today on Twitter. It says, "Don't look now, but the Kings have climbed to the 22nd ranked defense." And listen, it's all about relatively speaking, right? You say 22nd defense. Wow. Well, when you were like 27th, 28th just about a week or two ago, jumping from that spot to 22nd, yes, if you're making those kinds of jumps, it is significant. Over the last 5 games, this team has a defensive rating under 110, 109.8. And over the last 5 games, if you were to extrapolate that through the rest of this season, if you were to say their defensive rating was 109.8 on the year, they would be 7th in the NBA. Now, do I think they're the 7th best defense in the NBA? Absolutely not. No way. But if you can get them to a top 15 defense, now you're talking. Tim Maxwell on Twitter, he also tweeted out the defensive rating by 5-game segments. So check this out. The first 5 games of the season, the Kings' defensive rating was 116. Not good. Games 6 through 10, it went from 116 down to 113.1. From games 11 to games 15, it went from 113.1 down to 112.9. And then from games 16 to 20, it went from 112.9 to 112.3. So what you are seeing from Coach Mike Brown's team right now is consistency of the defense improving over and over and over again, taking steps, right? There was a significant step from games 1 through 5, 6 to 10. And then there was smaller steps from 6 to 10 to 11 to 15 to 16 to 20. But Chris, you've gone the first 5 games of this season, a defensive rating of 116. You've gone from that to a defensive rating of 112.3.
Right. And it's a cliche, but Rome wasn't built in a day. And we can't lose sight of the fact that we're still only 20 games into this season. And the Kings weren't going to be good. It would have been a stretch for them to come out the gate and be an excellent defensive team after for years being in the bottom of the NBA in defensive rating and just about every defensive metric. You weren't going to come out game one and just be showstoppers and, especially with the schedule they had. It really did feel like everything was working against them. But the fact that they're getting better routinely is really all you can ask for at this point. They're you just got to look forward to the next 5 games and what they can do in those next 5 games. And it does feel like they are figuring something out, but there are, to your earlier point, they're not the 7th best defense in the league, but can they progressively figure things out to fill the holes that lead them to be a really bad defense? Can they, massage some of their issues in the paint? Can they, I think they've been better on the perimeter, and traditionally they're really, really bad at allowing, 3 points, wide open 3-point shots. I think that's been something that I've noticed this year is just the flying out. You mentioned earlier just the rotations and defending with urgency. The fact that they fly out on shooters is not, it seems simple, but it's just not something we've always seen here. A consistent effort of effort.
Yeah, strong closeouts. Like if you're going to make a closeout on a shooter, make it count. And sometimes a lazy closeout is a worthless closeout.
Completely.
And we've seen, here's the other thing about the defense. The defense is going to get better if you cut down the turnovers as well, because how many of those points in the paint, and I agree with you, straight line drives, points in the paint, post play, all of that. We've talked about it from day one. I talked about it before the season began that, the Kings, they have 0 rim protection.
None.
And now, Holmes and Len have been deemed unplayable by Coach Brown. Mm-hmm. So now you've got Sabonis and you're playing Metu small ball 5. Points in the paint last night for the Pacers, 56. But you're also looking at turnovers again last night. And look, almost everything went great for the Kings last night. But if you want to get better defensively, it's tougher to get better defensively when you're turning the basketball over 18 times. Mm-hmm. They turned it over 18 times last night. They turned it over 16 times against the Suns. I think it was 18 against the Celtics, 18 against the Hawks. They had 6 turnovers in the final 4 minutes against Memphis. So when you're turning the basketball over like that, that's also a big problem for your defense because now you're allowing transition offense. But I still believe this. If we're talking about a defense, and I want to get Chris's thoughts on this when we continue to break this down, but if this team can get to the top 15-ish defensively, they have a legitimate shot of making the playoffs. I'm not talking about play-in. I'm talking the way the Western Conference is this year right now, the way things are looking, if it continues to track this way, if you get this defense to around top 15, even if it's 15, 16, with this offense, you have a legitimate shot at being a top 6 seed. So we'll continue to talk about Kings. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Don't forget, you can visit us, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. And when you're there, just like us, quick little click of the button and boom, you take care of business. You give us that like. And when you give us the like, more people actually get to see us because that's how the YouTube thing works. Chris is a digital guy. He knows all the numbers behind it.
Yeah, I can break it down for you.
I don't think anybody wants that.
You did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
In the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile.
Thank you. So just click the like button. We'll continue to talk Kings. We want your thoughts on last night's game. It was, as Eddie Olczyk would say, tremendously tremendous. 916-339-1140. Also, this isn't your older brother or sister's Kings. We'll tell you why in 90 seconds.
trying to get you home after another long day and through the drive time afternoon traffic. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140.
Cole G points out Celtics, Suns, Pacers, all good, great teams on offense. I think that should make you feel better, even better about the statistics that I shared with you just last segment. Again, I'll share them with you from Tim Maxwell. Sactown Baby Giraffe on Twitter tweeted out today, when you look at defensive rating for the Kings, games 1 through 5, it was 116, and it precipitously has dropped down to 112.3 in the last 5 games. So they have, made their defensive rating better by almost 4 points from the beginning of the year to the last 5 games. And it has to give you some kind of good feels and vibes about Coach Brown, because we all talked about it, Chris Watkins in for Ramie today. We all talked about it, Chris, this idea that Mike Brown was a defensive guy. He's defensive coach, defensive genius, and he was going to help fix this defense. And I think early on it was like, hey, Mike, what are you doing?
Right.
But these things take time. You're not going to turn a team around in a matter of 10 games and make them defensively responsible. But when you look at those numbers and you look at last night's game, which I believed, I said this on the recap show last night on the YouTube page, I thought last night was the most complete and best defensive game this team has played all year. Coach Brown echoed those words after the game last night. It should give fans a good feeling that Coach Brown is figuring out what he has, what components that he has to work with now, and who does what best and who can't do what he wants them to do. I think that's why you don't see Rashawn Holmes out there. Mm-hmm. You don't see Alex Len out there. You don't see some other guys out there. I think that's why he's sneaking some KZ Okpala minutes now the last couple of games to get him some run. And yes, it's also because Trey Lyles is out. But KZ, hey, man, go out there and defend. Do something.
That's absolutely adding to the defensive numbers.
There's no doubt about it. So would you agree with me, though? And I wonder how many people feel this way. If this defense can get to top 15, just say even 15 to 16 or 17, right, you got to feel pretty good as long as you got health about this team's chances to get to the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels like this team, especially when they were really going during that 7-game win streak, they – with the exception we saw of teams like Boston of that caliber. And I mean, you can speak to how, scorched earth Boston's entire offense is right now, but they can really just outscore just about anybody in this league. And I think that was pretty much their mentality for that 7-game win streak. And then you saw that, you can't just go out there, roll the balls out, and especially on the road, expect to have a historically great offense. You're going to have to, at some point, make stops and rely on your defense. And I think we're seeing that. And if this team can get, like you're saying, to just a middling level defensively and retain a top 5 offense, which in my opinion should be pretty easy with the weapons they have. And, you can mention that, Harrison Barnes is just kind of getting going now, and we haven't seen what I think we'll see a lot more of Keegan Murray as this year goes along. This offense has another level to reach, and if they can, get to a consistent level with their offense and with their shooting and start to become a defensive team as well on top of that, I mean, we're looking at a top 6 seed easy.
And let's talk about the offense. He's Chris Watkins, Nick Cattles here, Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports on this Thursday. This is not the same Kings that you're used to watching over the last several years. This team is different, and this team is different offensively because they've got depth, and we've talked about it from the offseason to this very point right now at 4:20 on December 1st. When you look at the balance of last night, that was just huge to me.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there at halftime, getting ready for the recap show, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, okay, so I like to at halftime dive into some of the numbers and figure out how are they sticking around? How are they up like last night? How are they up by 14 when you've got De'Aaron Fox with 8 points and you've got Domas with 9? How are you up by 14 at the half and you're in the 60s points-wise? It was balanced, man. HB had 13 points. Sabonis had 9. Fox had 8. Monk had 7. You had Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, TD, all with 6 points. By the end of the night, Chris, you had 7 guys in double digits. Yep. You could have had 9 guys in double digits because, you had Mitchell, who had 8 points, and you had Metu, who had 8 points. Yep. They didn't have to play, thankfully, because it was a curb stomping by the Kings. So you could have had 9 guys in double digits last night, which is an insane number. Monk, again, had a big game with 20 off the bench. TD had 15. It is that offensive balance. It is that depth. Here's Coach Brown.
Mezzi, I thought, was huge for us on the offensive glass during a stretch in the first half. He helped create the separation because of his ability to offensive rebound, and his length coupled with his athleticism is what we need. You know, the way he plays is different than Domas, and so you have to prepare for 2 different types of centers, and it was fun to see Mezzi go out there and have the game that he had. You know, I go back to Malik. Malik was fantastic. You know, 26 and 4. I still think he can get a couple more rebounds because he's just that athletic and he's got a nose for the ball. But he's fantastic. And I said this beforehand, he should start getting some mention for that 6th man of the year stuff, especially if we keep playing well.
C-Dub, the thing about this team offensively is you've got De'Aaron Fox, and we talked about this on Monday, or Tuesday after Monday night's game against Phoenix, where, you know, Booker is cooking, and you got like 45, and Fox is dreadful with like 11, and you still are down by 3 points with 35 seconds to go. Difference between this team and the other teams in the past 8, 9, 10 years for the Kings, everybody can chip in.
Yep. Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, especially, you know, if we want to look way ahead here to like playoff basketball, I mean, that's the exact kind of stuff you need is to have a secondary option to go to when people can game plan against you and know the stuff, your primary action and what you're trying to get to. That's when you need, okay, well, you're going to try and shut down De'Aaron Fox. Well, how about this Domantas Sabonis, Kevin Huerter 2-man game that we can just run to the ground? And, you know, it seems like they get, you know, they're going to score off that 8 of 10 times or something like that. And then you have Malik Monk, who really creates his own offense and can run the show with that second unit. Terrence Davis has had a couple nights where he's led the pack. Harrison Barnes always sneaks up and will give you a 20-piece and lead the team in scoring like he did last night. And we haven't even mentioned De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, who are, you know, at the heads of the snake. So these guys, I mean, yeah, to your point, we have not seen this level of depth in terms of scorers on this roster. And I think we're talking glory days at that point for where, you know, you have your Pages and your Hedos and your Gerald Wallace's, even though he didn't play too much. But, you know, you understand what I'm saying. Just the level of depth that this team has is incredible. And that's a big reason why I feel like, you know, regardless of De'Aaron Fox having this little slow shooting stretch or Keegan Murray still not figuring things out, this team is still an elite offense. And things aren't even, you know, completely humming.
Yeah, I mean, HB, shout out to him last night. I thought he was terrific. He came out aggressive. You know, he had 7 free throws in the first half. Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's a big number for him. I think he finished the night with, 10 free throws, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. And as we know, when HB gets free throws, that means he's being aggressive. He's looking to score. He finished with 22 and 5, and he was efficient all night long. 6 of 9 from the floor, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. So, yeah, I mean, when we talk about team depth, we talk about different ways to hurt defenses. And we talk about talent level. That's why we think this team is better than it's been in the past 8, 9, 10 years. It's not because we work as the flagship station here at Sactown Sports of the team. It's because we're telling you the truth. We're spitting reality. Like, you've seen it. This bench is one of the best benches in the NBA. They can score the ball at any moment. It's not like the past. And that should have you getting excited every single night to watch this team. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. You know we're going to keep the train rolling here. We continue to talk about the Kings, and Chris and I will tell you why and what we think is wrong with De'Aaron Fox. It's coming up.
Cattles and Ramie.
A Heisman hopeful goes down. The second-ranked Michigan Wolverines has lost their Heisman hopeful for the Big Ten championship game versus Purdue. According to the NFL Network, running back Blake Corum will miss the game due to a knee injury, which will require surgery. It is unknown what the recovery time will look like for Corum or whether he will be cleared to play if Michigan makes it to the college football playoff. In the NFL, the 49ers may or may not be without Christian McCaffrey as his status is up in the air due to a knee injury. He's considered day-to-day. And the Buffalo Bills, they'll be without linebacker Von Miller as he's been placed on the IR. He'll miss the next 4 games due to a knee injury as well. There's only one game on the slate today in the NBA as the Dallas Mavericks visit the Pistons on 8 Mile. And some sad news to report today as Hall of Famer pitcher Gaylord Perry passed this morning of natural causes. He was 82. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie Show. That's next.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Sac State football hosting a playoff game this Saturday, 2 p.m. at Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com. Verlad, you pro or anti Bruno Mars?
Pro, definite pro.
Watkins?
It's so funny you asked this question.
Don't tell me you do not like Bruno. Dude,
I
remember that that we can cut your mic at any moment. You're not a Bruno Mars guy?
I am not even remotely close to being a Bruno Mars guy. It's just a little bit too formulaic for me. Like, it feels too easy. To me, it's
because he's so talented. When people are so talented, they make it seem too easy.
I understand that, and like, I kind of acknowledge that I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite or just just leaving gaps in in my logic. But it's just, I don't know. It just to me feels like he's going for a sound that he knows will work. And it's, I don't know. I'm not.
It's what like 95% of musicians do, Chris. Right. Hate to break it to you, man.
I mean, I guess, he is successful with it. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel, I don't feel the soul in his music, It just feels a little bit too calculated. Wow. And I've heard people say this, that it's like, he really is incredibly detailed in like every single note, he's
an incredible musician. You do know that, right? Like, he can play every single instrument at like a top level.
Good for you.
This sounds more like a feel thing than this is what I know.
I mean, yeah, I don't have stats on Bruno Mars. But
we've learned that C-Dub
the
is
second that was playing, I was like, this is.
I was ready to get up and dance, and you were like, I can't stand this. I hate this.
This is not it for me.
My goodness. I can't believe
if we want to play some true, like if we want to play some Drake or something in here, get the vibes really.
All right, I've got to ask this question. We're gonna get to De'Aaron Fox. We're gonna get right back to the Kings. Trust me when I tell you. But we've got to ask this question: is Chris Watkins nuts for not liking Bruno Mars? YouTube people, tell us. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. I need to know who out there is pro Bruno Mars and who out there is anti Bruno Mars. And should we kick Chris out of the studio for saying that Bruno Mars pretty much picks low-hanging fruit?
It's,
Philip Cole says, do not let him choose the music. What are you saying? What are you saying? By the way, we'll be joined by Doug Christie at 5, and I'm going to ask Doug how he feels about Bruno Mars.
Doug's going to be on my side.
You think so?
No, I don't. No,
I don't know who is on your side.
I was going to say I feel like Bruno Mars has probably the highest approval rating of just about anybody.
I don't know. We've got one texter, 916-339-1140. I concur with Chris Watkins. Can't stand that Bruno Mars dude.
I love this. I might have to start like a Facebook group or something.
This is insane to me.
Bruno Mars truthers.
Bruno Mars is fantastic. Fantastic. We got to put C-Dub in his place. This is
if Nick and I agree on something.
Yeah, then know.
Right, that you guys are wrong.
It's pretty much it's pretty much universal if Rod and I agree. Pretty much universal. All right, let's get to De'Aaron Fox. Again, excellent game last night for the Kings. I thought that Fox was good last night, especially in the second half. I thought it was a big game. Before we talk about what we saw from De'Aaron, Chris, because both you and I think, unlike the Bruno Mars conversation, we agree about De'Aaron Fox and what we saw last night. But before we get to something that I think all of us need to keep a close eye on with De'Aaron over the next week or two, I thought it was a big game for him last night because of all the comparisons between he and Haliburton, the idea that he wasn't the same player with Hallie and Hallie wasn't the same player with him. He was going to defend Hallie a lot last night. He was coming off of 3 bad games. I mean, Monday against Phoenix is one of the worst games I've seen him play since I've lived here in Sacramento, which is about a year now. I thought it was a big game for him. Going in, did you think last night was kind of a big statement game for Fox?
I don't know if I'd say it's a statement game, but I definitely expected him to perform. So, with the Tyrese matchup, all of them were downplaying it. Domas was downplaying it. Buddy, Tyrese in the pregame was saying, they were trying to treat this like every other game. I think they all knew that there was going to be a little bit something extra for this game.
Right.
And, De'Aaron, if anybody, heard a lot of complaints, especially around the time of the trade.
No doubt.
There was a lot of people saying, why wasn't it him that the Kings let go? Why was it Tyrese Haliburton? I know for a fact that De'Aaron Fox heard that. And I know, just knowing the competitor De'Aaron is, that he had to have wanted
100%.
He had to have wanted to come out last night and be like, this is why they chose me over that guy.
Yes.
Because I am that guy.
Yes. And he heard the fans. He heard the people. He heard some of the media saying, and look, it is what it is. I mean, it's pretty obvious that, yes, Haliburton had more value on the trade market.
Right.
And that's who Indiana wanted. If Indiana said, give us De'Aaron, I think Monty would have given him De'Aaron.
Absolutely.
But it was but I agree with you as far as, he had to know, he had to understand what the narrative was out there and what people were saying. I thought he was good. He wasn't great. I thought he was good. He was efficient. 19, 5, and 6 were his counting stats, but he was 7-11 from the floor. He only took, 1 3. He was 1 for 1. And coming off of, I thought, against the Celtics, especially on Friday night, and somewhat on Monday against Phoenix, wasn't the biggest fan of De'Aaron's shot selection.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was taking too many threes off the dribble and, too many step-back contested threes. But there might be a reason for that, Chris, and I want to get into it. But first, I do want to highlight Fox's defense against Hallie because Davion was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I did think, though, Fox was pretty good against Hallie. Here was Malik Monk talking about it.
Fox did a great job of forcing him left. When he get right, man, he can do anything. Shoot the ball, score the ball, pass the ball, man. He's great going right. Not as efficient going left, and Fox did a great job of that.
All right, Cattles and Ramie, no Ramie. Chris Watkins in for Ramie today here on Sactown Sports on this Thursday. Here's the thing that I really started to notice last night with Foxy. He's lacking some of that explosion. And I'm not telling you that he doesn't have any athleticism right now. I'm not telling you that he can't get to the paint. But what I saw was, we always talk about his fifth gear, his superpower, so to speak. And I thought watching last night for the first time, and maybe this is why he was taking a lot of step back threes against Boston and Phoenix and trying to, make shots off the dribble. He wasn't attacking downhill as much. He just didn't look as explosive to me. He didn't look like he had the same kind of vert. He didn't look like he felt as comfortable attacking the paint. When he went up, he didn't seem like he had the same burst. And he also didn't seem like he had the same burst going downhill. He was, again, this is relatively speaking, but I thought I was watching Fox in I don't know, third gear, fourth gear, 3.5 gear, if you have one. I just did not see him hit the fifth gear. And I know that they've been talking about him and maybe some general soreness. We had Jason Ross on the show yesterday, and Jay Ross mentioned that he thinks Fox is dealing with something. Is it me? Am I crazy? Or did it look like he just did not have that Fox explosiveness?
Absolutely. I mean, I completely agree with you with his shot selection. I think in general this year, and, I don't think this speaks to his injury woes, right, or whatever it's going on right now. But I think he has fallen in love a little bit too much with that, mid-range couple steps in from the 3-point line jumper that he, to his credit, has hit quite a few times. But in the past couple of games, I've noticed that just in terms of playing time, even he'll have, 13 minutes in the first half, and then second half, maybe he gets up to, another 16 or so minutes. If we're lucky, this is a guy who's been playing 34 plus minutes routinely this season. Yeah. And then if you look at the last 4 games, I looked at his last 4 games, he's averaging 29 minutes per game in his last 4 games.
Wow.
Shooting 40% from the field, 31% from 3. That is not the De'Aaron Fox that we saw in the first half of this season, or whatever, first 15 games of the season.
Not at all.
So he's completely different these past 4 games. And, they haven't came out and said he has any official injury. He hasn't been listed on any injury report. We've seen him, I think last night, he came up with a little bit of a limp at one point, but we really haven't seen him labor too much on anything. So it's super interesting to me what's going on with De'Aaron Fox, and maybe Doug will have some answers for us later in the day.
Yeah, Doug Christie joins us in about 20 minutes. Nice little promotion there from Chris. Nice little plug.
I'm getting better at this thing.
Nice little tease. And you look, the one thing about Foxy is, again, his free throws have ebbs and flows to them. He had 5 free throws last night, 2 against Phoenix, 5 against Boston, 7 against Atlanta. Only once.
Yeah.
Has he seen double-digit he only saw double-digit free throw attempts in the month of November once, and that was against Golden State. He shot 12 free throws. And as a matter of fact, he's only had double-digit free throws once this season, and that was 12 against Golden State. So there has been some hesitancy, I think, of him taking it to the basket. And again, I think we could see that maybe, just maybe, there is something that's bugging him, whatever it is, because that explosiveness wasn't there. But the good news is you can survive. Mm-hmm. And not only survive, but you blew out a good team last night with Fox not being 100%. And that's the difference of this team in the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years of the Kings we've watched and seen and talked about. Domas facilitating is also huge because it helps take some of that burden away from Fox. In the guard depth, you can play him. You just ran through his minutes recently. You can play him less minutes because you've got Monk, you've got Davion, you've got TD, you've got Herter. Mm-hmm. Now you need him to be better. If you want to get to the playoffs, you need Fox to be better and you need him to be healthy. But you do feel like this team has a better chance at least to survive with Fox not being 100% versus prior years. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. You can follow me at Nick C Radio. C-Dub, what's your Twitter handle?
At Chris M. Watkins.
Oh, easy.
Super easy.
Much easier than Ramie is tweeting, or F Carticelli _3 or whatever it is. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140 as well. Hey, why did Mike Brown show his foot? Yes. Yeah. I said his foot.
Yeah, his whole foot.
Why did he show his whole foot? His entire foot. To the media last night. We'll tell you next.
Ian Eagle here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up, AFC East action with Mac Jones and the Patriots hosting Josh Allen and the Bills. Buffalo is 8-3, but 0-2 in the division. Now they travel to New England for their first meeting of the year with Bill Belichick's 6-5 Pats. Join me and Jason McCourty for all the action on Thursday Night Football.
Get ready for the game with more details and
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Like us. Click that thumbs up. When you click the thumbs up, when you like us, more people get to see us. They get to watch the content, and we really want to grow the community with all of you. And I know many of you have been fantastic about visiting the YouTube page every day. We appreciate that. Many of you have watched our recap shows that we've been doing post-Kings games. I did it last night. Went about 40 minutes about the Pacers and the Kings on the Sactown Sports Kings recap show, and we had a tremendous group of people that showed up there. It's all about building the community and, trying to build a lot of momentum around this Kings team, and we enjoy talking to you guys on YouTube. It gives us a chance to kind of have a back and forth, and it's been a lot of fun. So like us, we'll appreciate it. Little effort from you goes a long way for us. Trust me when I tell you. And also, if you want to subscribe, we'd love it too. Before we get to Mike Brown showing off his, as Chris Watkins said, his whole foot to the media, showing the entire foot to the media. Why did Mike Brown do that last night?
I'm still wondering.
Like, he literally took his shoe off and put his foot on the desk, the dais, as he was talking to the media. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you missed it, it'd be the most outrageous thing that has been said in radio, at least today, came from Chris Watkins earlier, last segment, when Chris actually fixed his lips. Oh my gosh. Fixed his lips to say that Bruno Mars was pretty much low-hanging fruit when it comes to music.
I think
you want to give us a quick 30-second synopsis of your hate on Bruno Mars?
So I just saw, shout out, is it Byron? Brian in the YouTube chat put it perfectly. This is exactly how I feel. He's a poor man's Michael Jackson, which is both an insult and a compliment.
How many instruments did Michael Jackson play?
No.
I'm asking a legitimate question.
No clue.
I don't know.
Because I could tell you right now that Bruno can play the piano, he can play the bass, he can play the guitar, he can play the drums.
Great.
And he plays them all at a very high level.
Yeah,
right.
I would say that he's the poor man's Prince.
Yes. Better analogy. Sure. Better analogy, because Prince produced all of his own music and did whole albums. So did Paul McCartney, by the way.
I should also mention, just not really a music guy. Like, I like what I like,
that explains
but I am
a lot.
not. I am
that
not,
explains
by
a lot.
No stretch of the imagination, a music purist. Verlad knows this about me. I also don't watch a lot of movies.
He doesn't watch movies.
Like, if any. Really.
I don't watch a lot of movies either.
Yeah.
I've watched professional wrestling and sports.
Yeah.
Pretty much, and shows with the wifey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm big sports and big TV. I just finished Sopranos.
I never seen a single episode.
Oh, great show.
I didn't have HBO, and then I found out how it ended, and I was like, well, I don't need to watch it now. If I know the ending, why?
I did know the ending, and it does spoil it a little bit.
All right, so
not a lot.
Before we get to Mike Brown, I just want to get some reaction from Chris Watkins' terrible Bruno Mars take.
Oh, my God.
Text line 916-339-1140. Our friend, she's been a friend since day one of the show.
Shout out.
Chris the mom, text in. How do you not feel the music when you hear a Bruno Mars beat? I'm 69 and even I do.
Nice.
Unbelievable. Also, let me see.
Rick has a comment here.
We have more.
Chris has no rhythm. That's just because that's true doesn't mean that
Watkins.
You're right. Yeah.
Verlad's like,
oh yeah, Verlad over here.
You better be specific which Chris you're talking about.
Right. Sorry.
Because I've been known to go a little buck wild on the dance floor back in the day. So I will tell you the swings of emotion from our Simone.
Yeah.
Okay. So
shout out Simone.
When you first showed up on the show today, Simone on the YouTube channel said, Chris Watkins, what a legend.
Number one fan.
Happy birthday, Simone, by the way.
Chris Watkins, what a legend. Roughly 10 minutes later, I know I'm late. I was driving, but that was an insane Bruno Mars take, Chris Watkins. I don't know if you're legendary anymore.
What I'm hearing is I'm polarizing.
Oh.
That's how I like to view it.
Simone, I gasped. Not a music guy. Oh, Loganito said, I'll be honest, Bruno Mars ain't it. I'm with Chris. Is there more of a contingent that is anti Bruno Mars than I thought? That can't be true.
I thought I was by myself in this. 100.
You should be.
You know how many weddings I've been to recently? I have a huge extended Mexican family. Weddings almost 4 times a year. And every time I hear Bruno Mars, I just can't. I feel like he made the music for the occasion. He was like, you know what? I'm trying to get play. You know, how do I get as much money as possible? Oh, let's make songs that'll get played at weddings, at middle school dances, as much as possible. Make it clean. This is my argument. It's just I just don't like the spirit of it.
Someone's attacking me saying I'm a fan of Mars, but I hate the stance of he plays every instrument. There are so many more instruments out there. I understand. I didn't say he played. Did I say he plays every instrument? I know there's more instruments. I
want to see him play the oboe.
I smash on the drums from time to time. I've played the drums a little bit here and there. I understand the instruments in the world and all of that. I don't know if he can bust out the cello. I don't know if he's busting out any horns. I'm sure he could probably play. Yeah, I'm sure he could play a horn or two. My point is, like, he's just an overall really good musician. That's my point.
He ruined Anderson .Paak for me.
By the way, not a big fan of that stuff. Yeah. By the way, didn't like that album. Here's something for Chris Verlade. And maybe only Chris and I will get this one. Again, we'll get to Mike Brown in a minute. But Brian Knutson says, Kings fans should be feeling extra oozy today.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah, you don't get that. You got to be a WWE fan. All right, Mike Brown whipped out his foot last night in front of the media. So Malik Monk had another great game. I said his foot. 20 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Again, more tremendous playmaking from Monk. The TD 3 during that great run in the third quarter, perfect example of Monk's playmaking, where he kind of dribbled through the entire defense, broke it down, went into the paint, then dribbled back around and fired a pass to the open TD for the 3. He's been an excellent signing. So Mike Brown really wanted to stump for his guy Malik Monk last night, and here's the coach stumping.
Again, Malik Monk should get some mention for 6th man of the year. I'm putting that out there. Some of you, especially some of you national guys that are sitting here. All right? Only I got where it's up. Malik Monk should be getting mentioned for 6th man of the year this year.
He literally took his foot and plopped it right there on the dais next to the microphone to show that he was wearing socks.
Yeah, I don't think the audio quite does it justice. You can find the video, I believe, on NBC Sports California, or whatever, NBC Sports Kings's Twitter page, where they show the full video of Mike's press conference. But it was really an incredible sight.
Yes, it was.
Not often, especially in a pregame, are you expecting something like that?
You don't expect an NBA head coach to just show everybody his foot. I would say, look, the one thing that's going to be tough is, will they win enough? Even if you're, playoff team. But what works for them is that I think the Kings, and I said this before Thanksgiving, before I went on a little bit of a vacation. The Kings right now are like the best story in the NBA to me. Everybody's been pounding the drought and talking about the drought. The way that they have come out and played, the brand of basketball they play, they're a very likable team.
The Beam team.
The Beam is the thing now. Yep. Of course, Malik with the Band-Aid. They really are the story of the NBA this season. And that includes apparently 50 Cent, because last night at Golden One, it was 50 Cent night.
Yeah.
Apparently he talked to the team before the game. Here was Coach Brown on that.
Having guys like that. We had Barry Bonds stop by before. Adam Shire, the guy that invented Siri, stopped by before. Right. So what? To get guests to come in and tell their stories and give the guys a break from hearing my voice is always a positive.
I invented Siri. Go out there and play a good game, guys.
50 Cent, Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds.
The guy that invented Siri.
Yeah. Very, very similar people. Yes. When you think about sports feats, no pun intended, you're talking Barry Bonds, 50 Cent, and the guy who invented Siri.
Invented Siri too, not voice of Siri.
No, he invented Siri. Keegan Murray got to meet 50 Cent. How did the rookie feel about 50?
Yeah, he's a good dude. He was just kind of giving me stuff
Good
about
dude.
not showing expressions when I make shots. So, no, he's a good dude, lighting the mood a lot leading up to the game. So it was cool to have him there tonight.
Doug Christie joining us in about 5 minutes or so. So you want to stay tuned for that. When I say it was 50 Cent night, it was. I mean,
It was.
Dude was out there. He rang the cowbell.
Yep.
I was NBC Sports California showed him serving drinks. He was behind the bar serving drinks at one point.
Yep.
And he lit the beam.
He did.
Which to me, I have a very important question. Should anybody other than the players be allowed to light the beam? And should you have to go through all the players first lighting the beam before you allow a celebrity to light the beam? I feel like the beam should be a player thing.
They kind of earn it, right?
Right. Like, why is 50 lighting the beam?
Right. That makes sense to me. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really make much of. That's what the cowbell at the beginning of the game is for. Is for, get your celebrity out there, get your season ticket holder out there. But lighting the beam, that should be a player exclusive, or to your point, at least get through them all first.
Maybe I'll have a Twitter poll. YouTube people, let us know too. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Should the lighting of the beam post game be a player thing?
I would like to amend it.
Okay.
Because I would like.
We have a possible amendment.
Right.
I think players, but I also think a celebrity is could be cool, but I think it should have to be a Sacramento celebrity.
Well, there's not a lot of those. Are you talking like Dusty Baker?
Dusty Baker. If he's in town and he wants to do it, Hassan Minaj. He's come to the game. Let him light the beam.
Yeah, I mean, you then would have to invite a celebrity.
I'm not saying every time, but I'm just saying if they happen to be there.
Gotcha. Like it's part of your ticket or your pitch to, you get to come to the game. You get to sit in between Vivek and his daughter, and we'll show you on the big screen. And then, hey, if we win, you get to slap this table really hard, and then we'll light the beam.
All right, so I tweeted this out at Nick C Radio. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Nick C Radio, should lighting the beam in the post game be strictly a player thing? Option A is yes. Option B is no. I'm just going to stick to that, and we'll see if it's a player thing.
Yeah.
Because if people don't believe it's only a player thing, then we can say, well, do the celebrities or whatever have to be from Sacramento? Have at least some tie to Sacramento. Right. Cole G, YouTube. The beam is sacred. Only players or family of players. He's willing to open it up for family of players. But should lighting the beam in the post game be strictly a player thing? Again, at Nick C Radio, we'll get your thoughts. But a very, very special guest coming up here next. His name, I think you know him, Doug Christie.
Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports.
Heisman hopeful goes down. The second-ranked Michigan Wolverines has lost their Heisman hopeful for the Big Ten championship game versus Purdue. According to the NFL Network, running back Blake Corum will miss the game due to a knee injury, which will require surgery. It is unknown what the recovery time will look like for Corum or whether he will be cleared to play if Michigan makes it to the college football playoff. In the NFL, the 49ers may or may not be without Christian McCaffrey as his status is up in the air due to a knee injury. He's considered day-to-day. And the Buffalo Bills, they'll be without linebacker Von Miller. As he's been placed on the IR, he'll miss the next 4 games due to a knee injury as well. On the pitch in the World Cup, 4 more countries have punched their ticket to the round of 16. Japan, Spain, Croatia, and Morocco will all move on to the knockout stage. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, the assistant coach, Doug Christie, will join Nick. That's right now.
Just 2 guys rubbing elbows, talking sports.
And lots of other stuff.
They always keep you on edge.
That's really crazy interesting.
It's Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140.
You do not know about this song.
I have no idea.
I know about this song.
No idea.
The Triple B last night.
I know Triple D.
What was the
Fieri?
The big burgundy belt? Is that what he calls
Burberry.
it? Burberry, sorry. This is MJF, professional wrestling.
It's because Doug Christie is better than you, and you know it.
There you go. Joining us right now, very special guest. Used to I was told a rumor that he used to co-host a program in the afternoon here.
He would sit right in this seat.
That was the rumor I heard. His name is Doug Christie, of course, assistant coach of your Kings. He's on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. DC, we're going to get to basketball in a minute, but I have a very, very crucial question for you. Are you a Bruno Mars guy?
I mean, I hear some songs, but not like he's not in there.
My guy.
Oh, that's a letdown.
You know why? Because I'm the best there was. The best there is. Will be, my friend. That's why.
Uh-oh. We got a little trouble with Doug's phone.
You got me? Hello?
Hello? Uh-oh.
I'm here. I can hear you.
All right. You can hear us? We can hear you a little bit. Let's see if we're good to go. Well, I'm not a Bruno Mars guy. All right, so let's talk about the game last night, Doug.
Damn, you just go Bruno Mars to the game. You're gangster.
That's right.
All right, let's do it.
Listen, I'm upset with your Bruno Mars take, and I'm afraid that if we keep going down this road, it's only going to get worse for you. All right, so let me ask you this: what is if you're not a Bruno Mars guy? What's the playlist? If you're jumping in the car and you're heading to the game, what are you listening to?
You know what? Oddly enough, man, a lot of times I'm listening to classical music on the way. I don't want to hear anything, but I'm like Burner Boy. I'm like Wiz Kid. I'm on a little bit different, more Afro beats right now.
All right, I got you. Classical music.
When he said classical, I was definitely thinking like Beethoven.
Yeah. I'm into all that. I just need to stimulate my brain and calm the hell down a lot of the time. So, if you see me, you think, I'm probably like on Tupac. I mean, I do, but most times I'm just trying to calm down, man. So a lot of times classical guys.
Was it like that when you played, Doug? Did you listen to classical before a game, or you wanted to get revved up? The exact opposite.
Hell no, I was thinking classical and thinking cars. That's what I was thinking.
All right, Doug, let's get to the game last night. Obviously, a great win for you guys. Great vibes in the arena. I wanted to ask you about the balance last night offensively. 7 guys in double digits. You could have had 9 if you had to play Metu and Mitchell more. Just your thought on the offensive balance and overall how the guys played last night on that end of the floor.
Well, I think, first of all, the pace was spectacular. In the first quarter, we had 14 fast break points. Then in the third quarter, we had 13. But in the second and fourth, we had 0 in the second and 4 in the fourth. So, there's ebbs and flows. But the point is, and I think that this is probably the biggest thing, is you see the capability and you see the things that are there. Now it becomes the consistency at which we do it. And when we do it consistently at a high level, when we move the ball, when we switch the ball from one side to a second side to a third side, we usually get what we want, and the guys can knock shots down at a high level. We got guys that can get by people in the paint, spray it out. Like, there are a lot of really good things that happen. So I would say last night, like, offensively, really, really solid, ebbs and flows, but for the most part, solid.
How's it going, Doug? Me and Nick were talking earlier in the show about how De'Aaron hasn't quite looked himself the past couple of days. Is there something physically going on with him, or is it just a slow stretch of games?
No, I just think that, any time that you're going through an NBA season, you guys, you're just going to run into times where, your body feels great. Sometimes it might not. I haven't heard anything from De'Aaron that has said otherwise. So it kind of just happens. And I think to his credit sometimes, and this is, I think that sometimes you get into the mindset, now I'm talking about fans, of, okay, I want him to go out and score 30 points and I want him to do, but really the object is to win the game. So sometimes they'll take him away, and to his credit, he's moving the basketball and letting others on that particular night, letting them do their thing. And I think that that's going to make us more of a diverse threat as we go through the season. And when we enter into the playoffs, like, guys are going to be ready to take on a responsibility because he has given that responsibility to them in high leverage moments.
Doug Christie is with us, of course, on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Doug, was that the best defensive game that you think the team's played this season?
That's a good question. There were some really good defensive segments and some good defensive clips. I would probably say yes, but part of that is that you are good on offense, and your offense can affect your defense. If you get live ball turnovers, your defense won't look that good because all of a sudden they're laying it up on the other end, so you don't allow your defense to get set.
Right.
But, yeah, I think as far as game plan discipline is something that Coach talks about, and understanding if we're pushing a guy left or we're pushing him right, or if we're blitzing or we're going under or we're locking trail or lock and go. Like, all these things, I would say that consistently last night we were probably as close to doing that game plan discipline as we've been all year. So it's right up there for sure.
Buddy and Hallie were back in the building last night, and for a lot of the pregame press conferences and stuff, they were downplaying for a majority of downplaying the significance of the game. How did you feel like the emotions affected last night's game?
First of all, I don't do social media. Like, I have an account, but I don't go on it. What did Buddy do that we're booing him? I don't understand. Like,
I was trying to figure that out too.
Yeah, I was like, man. But I thought the emotions were under control. I didn't think that it got too crazy. No, I mean, like, emotionally, like when I gave both of them a hug, I'm like, love you guys, like that. But other than that, our fans were tremendous, as they always are. Like, the building is starting to take on its own personality, and it's becoming a special place, similar to what Arco was, but it's going to have its own personality, and you're starting to see it more consistently, and you're starting to hear it and get the vibe. But I think the emotion of the fans was spectacular. But as far as the players go, no, I don't think anything got out of control. I thought everything was solid. Same with Domas. I thought he was locked in. Unfortunately, he got into foul trouble, and that can be a bit frustrating. But no, I thought everybody was good.
Doug Christie, DC, with us here on Cattles and Ramie. Ramie out sick. Chris Watkins in for Ramie today on this Thursday. So Malik Monk, Doug, I want to talk to you about Malik. When we talked to him at Media Day, he told us his most overlooked aspect of his game he thought was his playmaking, that people did not give him enough credit. And watching him so far this year, his playmaking and also his ability to finish at the rim, at least to me, has been a bit of a pleasant surprise. When you guys signed him, Doug, did you guys know how much more than just a shooter he could be and what he could bring to the table?
So me and Leandro Barbosa talk about this a lot. Hell no, I had no idea. I'm gonna be honest with you. I knew that Malik could play. I didn't get to know. First of all, he is a spectacular human being. Just like getting to know him, I'm truly blessed to be able to get to know him. His energy is contagious, and I appreciate everything that he brings every single day. That I'll say that first and foremost. But watching him and I always tell him this when he's on the court, and he's making good plays. I said, man, you play basketball the right way. You do. You make plays for your teammates. You pass the ball. Are there times where he might dribble it too much? Like, that's for everybody.
Right.
But I would say 9 times out of 10, Malik Monk is going to make the right play for the team. And that it's a big thing. He talks on the defensive end. Offensively, there was a pass that was right in front of me. Like, if the guy doesn't catch it, it hits me in the face. He's driving away on the baseline on the other side, and it was a one-hand hook pass on time, on target. And I just went, damn. Yeah, he is way more of a playmaker than I ever thought. He's one of our best passers, no doubt.
Doug, you guys are coming off a really, really tough road trip against some tough opponents. You end the road trip at Boston and then come home and play Phoenix, the best team in the Western Conference and the best team in the Eastern Conference. What did you learn about the team in that little stretch of games there?
I would say that we can compete with anybody in the NBA. And I think that what we're beginning to understand, I would say as a staff, and Coach Brown probably understood this, first and foremost, is that it's going to be at the consistency at which we're able to perform that's going to dictate how high we go as a team. The fact that we can compete against anybody puts us in the conversation. The fact that will we be disciplined enough for 48 minutes or as close to 48 minutes as you get, that's going to dictate how high we compete in the playoffs. Is it round 1? Is it round 2? Like, how far we go? Because a team, I'll give you an example, like Phoenix, there was a timeout, and I said to Leandro, I said, we can get these guys. Because sometimes just for me, I need to see it. I need to feel it. I need to be in the moment. And when the moment arose, I said to myself, oh, we're good. We can compete against these guys. And then I looked at him and I said, but we can't have any 2-minute stretches where we break down because these teams are that special. And it happened a couple of times against them where you faulty for 2 minutes and they take advantage and they get into the penalty, and then they got a special player in Booker. So I would say, Chris, to answer your question, that I learned that we can compete against any of the elite teams in the NBA. And we haven't faced them all. We haven't faced Milwaukee and a couple other ones. But Phoenix is right up there, and obviously Boston Celtics I put right at the top of the list.
Doug, last one for you today. And again, thanks for your time as always, man. We appreciate you. What can you guys do to get Keegan going consistently on the offensive end, just basketball-wise for him?
I don't think it's really getting him going. I think more than anything is that he just stays aggressive and he stays locked in. If he stays aggressive, like he had shots last night that they were just in and out, and that's just the nature of the game. It just, some nights you'll make shots, some nights you won't make shots. But the key is for him is stay locked in on your whole entire floor game. Don't let making shots or missing shots dictate how well you play, because you have more to offer the game. You're 6'8", you're athletic. Let's lock up on the defensive end. Then also let's make sure that we get us some rebounds. So let's, move the basketball and all those type of things.
DC, thanks for the time again. Appreciate you. Safe travels, LA. We'll talk to you sometime soon. Again, thank you, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
You too.
Okay.
There goes Doug Christie, DC, of course. Just like every guest here on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. I also, before I forget, you getting chilly? You all right?
A little chilly in here.
What's wrong with you?
AC turned on?
What's wrong with you?
Maybe Doug just gave me the chills because, he ain't a Bruno Mars guy. I don't think I let that slip.
Sac State football.
Chris, can we get that? Can you save that audio, please?
Sac State football hosting a playoff game Saturday. 2 p.m. Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com. And yes, Doug Christie, apparently not a Bruno Mars fan. Domas's night. We'll talk about that. We'll have some other stats that stood out to us from the game in 90 seconds.
Gathers and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
You don't even know who this is.
No, not a single.
Not a chance.
Not even I couldn't give you the first letter.
All right, so listen, the Bruno Mars stuff, I'm not going to get too angry about it. But if anybody ever tried to tell me that Neil Peart is not one of the 3 best drummers that's lived life, that would be almost fist fight material. That would be knockdown, drag out fight.
What if I told you I've never heard of him?
That's fine. You already mentioned that you weren't a music guy, so I don't expect a lot out of you now. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even care less about your Bruno take because you said I'm not a music guy.
That's fine.
So wait, when everyone's putting like their top 5 Spotify lists out there, what's on yours?
I'm not putting mine up. Mine is terrible. I actually disagree adamantly with my Spotify top 5. I have no idea.
With his own Spotify
the algorithm was all
5.
messed up on me. I don't know what happened.
We'll get to Domas in a minute and some other numbers from last night's game that really jumped out at us. We'll do that. Chris Watkins, C-Dub in for Ramie today. Ramie under the weather, hopefully back tomorrow for the show with you up until about another 30 minutes or so. And then we've got UC Davis for you. So I tweeted out the poll question at Nick C Radio about lighting the beam. And I don't know what the appropriate answer is, right? I think I know what I would do if I were the Kings organization with this lighting the beam in the post game, because last night 50 Cent lit the beam. And I asked both Chris's if we should have only players light the beam. And I asked everybody else out there in Twitter world at Nick C Radio, should lighting the beam in the post game be strictly a player thing? Hashtag 50 Cent. Option A was yes. Option B was no. And right now, the no's have it. 63%. 63% of the people say that the lighting of the beam should not be strictly a player thing.
That feels like people want to light the beam themselves.
Oh, I want to light the beam.
So, Logan,
I want to be famous enough to light the beam.
You are famous. Logan Ito says players, Sacramento celebrities, and the first alien that arrives as a result of the beam shooting across space can light the beam. Cole G said sacred, only players are family. And we've got some answers on Twitter as well. At Nick C Radio from Eric in Sacramento. 50 Cent is more important than any player, so no. Shadrack.
Wait, what? I don't know if we could just gloss through that.
Shadrack 40 says just light it. Hashtag 2 cents.
Just okay. Sure.
Raising Craigs says the beam is a connection to community. Whoa. So community should contribute. Hashtag light it. That's deep.
Whoa.
That's deep.
That is deep.
And another one swore, so we can't say that one. But yeah, 50 Cent more important than any player.
Yeah, that's a take. I mean, maybe I was thinking this last night, but good on 50 Cent. He's definitely he's probably more well known for his, entrepreneurial adventures than his music at the moment. He's not currently releasing any music.
When's the last music he released?
That's what I was wondering. Because they were playing a lot of 50. By the way, we're all, we can't agree on Bruno, but 50 Cent, we're all good there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at least the early stuff.
The hits. Yeah.
Yeah. Get Rich or Die Trying. I mean, come on, of course.
Right.
So he apparently, is this right? Gone Pay Me 2020. Was that just like a single or was that like an album?
I can't answer that.
His discography. Let's.
Well, I know he's like an executive producer
of
of a TV show called Power, which is really, really big. I think that's on Showtime.
Animal Ambition?
Can't tell you.
Was his last studio album? Yikes. It sold 124,000 copies in the U.S. Woof. Woof.
So it's a good thing he got that vitamin water money.
If you're wondering, like compared to Get Rich or Die Trying, which sold 9 million and 12 million worldwide, the Massacre sold 6 million and 9 million respectively. Then it went down to 1.4 and 3 million. You can see the trend here.
Yeah.
You can feel the trend. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. Anyway, so 50 Cent. It was 50 Cent night last night at he was all over the place. He was ringing the cowbell. He was serving drinks. He was slapping the what do we call the beam stand
table?
Is that
the button?
It's not a button. They want you to believe it's a button. The illusion is that it's a button.
Well,
but
we need to make it a button. Anyway, all right. So Hallie and Hield got, I thought, a lot of the attention last night because they were returning to Sacramento.
Yep.
Meanwhile, you had Domas who was playing against his former team. And, I thought that it's a significant game for anybody when they're playing against their team, right?
Mm-hmm.
The team that traded them. Mm-hmm. So as much as it was significant for Haliburton, it was pretty significant for Domas. And I would imagine when he goes back to Indiana, it will be more significant for him like it was for Hallie and Hield here, although Hield really downplayed it before the game. So it was a good night for Domas. And here he was in the post game talking about it.
It was fun. It was fun. It's nice always when you don't play in the fourth quarter and you take care of business early. And it was fun seeing a lot of familiar faces. I think there's only 5 guys left since the trade. It's crazy how fast things change already.
So he said he thinks there's only like 5 guys left on the team that after the post his trade. So Domas, obviously, he was happy. I mean, we talked about it. We started the show today talking about it. Really a great night for the Kings, a great night for the team, a great night for the fans, a great night for Domas. The atmosphere was terrific. I was not there because I had to do the recap show for the YouTube channel last night, but you could feel it. You could feel it through the TV. Like it was palpable. It felt like a playoff game in November, which is kind of crazy, but it was a fantastic atmosphere and environment. And of course, a blowout is really what you want if you're the Kings. Here was Keegan Murray talking about it.
Yeah, it was cool. Especially since we want to do it for Domas and those guys. So it was cool to see them show out, and it got really loud, especially in the second half. So it was really, really, really cool to see.
It was cool.
Keegan makes me laugh so much.
It was cool. Keegan, how crazy was that? It was cool.
It's all right.
It's all right.
If you're into that kind of stuff.
Wasn't bad. Like, if you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's like a sunny day. It was there. It's fine.
Never too high, never too low.
No. Domas finished with 11, 10, and 7. And the best thing about Domas's game last night was he only had to play 23 minutes. And when you're going to have a back-to-back this weekend against the Clippers and the Bulls, and when you can go 23 minutes with Domas, that's critical. That's critical. And Domas, we'll probably get into this tomorrow on the show, but he's got some interesting challenges this weekend with the Clippers and the Bulls and the bigs that they have. But I thought Domas was fine last night. Chris, what did you think of his game?
Yeah, he was fantastic. I mean, he played 23 minutes and almost had a triple-double. I thought it was I thought it was a lock. I mean, if you would have, I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would have put after the first half that he absolutely would have gotten a triple-double by the end of that. Finished with 11 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, but just an incredible game and just a little bit of everything. I mean, he took a couple balls coast to coast, and I think he had a big dunk in somewhere in that game as well. Just just everything that it was the full Domas experience last night. And I think, a tiny bit of that was showing Indiana like, hey, remember all of this.
Absolutely bogus. Absolutely bogus fourth foul on him last night.
His whole foul, the entire season. I mean, he's gotten one of the
At
worst
least they gave him
whistles in
the old,
league.
Hallie knee to the groin. They gave him that call in the challenge.
Right.
But the fourth foul, he didn't even touch anybody.
Jalen Smith. Is that the one where he, quote unquote, shoved Jalen Smith?
No. The challenge was the shove. Oh, no, the challenge was the knee. Okay.
Right. This is where it is. This is the point that it's at.
All right.
We can't decide which terrible call it was.
So the challenge was the knee.
Yes.
That was a successful challenge.
Yes, and then it was immediately.
Then, a minute after that was the Jalen Smith flop of the century.
He had 3 of those.
When he threw himself into the third row when Domas barely put his hand on him. And then the fourth foul, which was after that one, was in the third quarter, and that was a phantom foul when, I forget, somebody drove, and Domas looked like he was going to try to challenge it, but he literally did not touch anybody.
Yeah.
He didn't touch the basketball. He didn't touch any hand, nothing. But it's tough because, listen, I know what Mike Brown is doing. The early challenges drive me crazy in the NBA.
Same.
You got one challenge.
Makes no sense.
Using it in the second quarter first. Using it in the third quarter drives me nuts.
Pointless.
And, it wasn't his fourth foul. It would have been his third. You spend the challenge in the in the second quarter, and then a minute later he picks up his third anyway. That's the second time I think that's happened where coach has challenged a call and it's been successful, and then literally 45 seconds later there's another foul on Domas, and it's like, well, there goes that great challenge. Quickly, some other numbers from the game last night that should jump out at you. Chris Watkins, C-Dub, fast break points, 31-8 for the Kings.
Woo. Yeah.
31-8.
Yeah. Killed him.
Unbelievable.
Just ran them off the floor.
28 assists. The Kings are averaging 28 assists tonight. Last night was their average. They're 5th in the NBA in assists per game. They were plus 11 on the glass. Shout out to Chimezie.
Yeah, big shout out.
The minutes he's playing small ball 5, I mean, he's been really good playing that small ball 5 role. And to walk out of that game last night plus 11 when you got Miles Turner and Jalen Smith, and you got some size, some decent size on that Indiana team. And finally, I thought they got back to their offensive identity, which is chuck and duck.
Yeah, right.
43 threes. I talked about it on Tuesday's show against Phoenix. They didn't shoot a lot of threes against Phoenix. It was a completely different style of offensive basketball that we've seen from them. Last night, they were back to being the Kings.
Yep.
They had 20-plus threes in the first half. They shot 43 threes in the game. That is this team's offensive identity.
Yeah.
And when we talked to, I think it was Jay Triano, one of the assistant coaches, was Coach Triano. Coach Triano had said that, the goal is 10 threes a quarter. So they want to take 40. They took 43 last night. So pretty interesting stuff. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Don't forget YouTube channel, Sactown Sports, 1140 at youtube.com. Don't be alarmed, anybody, but the Kings are actually getting some national media love. We have the evidence for you coming up next.
Sactown Sports headlines.
A Heisman hopeful goes down. The second-ranked Michigan Wolverines has lost their Heisman hopeful for the Big Ten championship game versus Purdue. According to the NFL Network, running back Blake Corum will miss the game due to a knee injury, which will require surgery. It is unknown what the recovery time will look like for Corum or whether he will be cleared to play if Michigan makes it to the college football playoff. In the NFL, the 49ers may or may not be without Christian McCaffrey as his status is up in the air due to a knee injury. He's considered day-to-day. And the Buffalo Bills, they'll be without linebacker Von Miller as he's been placed on the IR. He'll miss the next 4 games due to a knee injury as well. On the pitch in the World Cup, 4 more countries have punched their ticket to the round of 16. Japan, Spain, Croatia, and Morocco will all move on to the knockout stage. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie Show.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
You're talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie.
Sactown Sports 1140.
Verlage, you made C-Dub very happy in here.
Yep.
He said, thank you. I actually know this.
Yeah, a lot more of my speed here. This is some early Kendrick.
Yeah.
Might have been Kendrick's first single. Like, this might have introduced Kendrick to the world. Great song.
Moment in history. Cattles and Ramie. No Ramie. Ramie's under the weather. He's hopeful to come back tomorrow. I think he will be back tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Chris Watkins in for Ramie today on this lovely Thursday. Keegan, how's today? Good. It's good.
It was all right.
It's all right. It's fine.
That kind of thing.
So listen,
it's not Friday.
We've talked a lot over the last year since I've been here about how the reputation of the Kings is always getting slapped by the national media, right? They're always taking jabs at the Kings. They always want to bring up the drought. They always want to pick on them. It's really unbelievable.
Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live. Oh my gosh.
Go Sacs!
Go Sacs!
JJ Redick as well. JJ Redick has just been Team Hallie ever since the trade happened, and he keeps rubbing it in our face as well.
You know, and it really is something like, look, did I hear the jabs before I moved to Sacramento? I'm sure I heard them from time to time. It didn't really stand out to me, but you know, following this team, investing in this team, meeting fellow fans, working with all of you guys, you really do notice it when you're out here. And we were joking around today before the show because, you know, every time you watch SportsCenter, the Kings can win a game, but they'll show the highlights of the other team, especially if it's like the Lakers, right? It'll be like Kings, Lakers, Kings win. It happened earlier this year. Kings win, but you're watching SportsCenter and it's Lakers highlights. And then, oh, by the way, LeBron and company lost by 20. It's like, wait a minute. What happened there? How about showing the highlights of the team that won? Well, I'm here to tell you that the Kings can no longer be ignored.
Right.
The national media no longer can ignore the Kings. We were in the studio today watching SportsCenter. It was up on the TV. It's not like we were all sitting around and watching SportsCenter together. But we had the pre-show meeting today, and ESPN was on one of the TVs, and we actually looked up and started watching the highlights because they were showing Kings highlights of the game last night, and every single highlight they showed was actually a Kings highlight, and we're like, wait a minute, how did that happen? And then we saw Vince Carter was brought on to talk about the Kings, and I looked over at Verlade and said, "Can we get this?" Can we document that Vince Carter is on SportsCenter talking about the Kings in a good manner? Like he's actually complimenting the team. So if you think I'm lying, we have the evidence. Verlade went into the old machine in the production studio, was able to grab Vince Carter talking about the Kings on SportsCenter this morning. Here that is.
It's a lot that stands out, Sage. I watched them this summer. Mike Brown coached the Nigerian team in the Olympics, and I was super impressed how he got these guys to buy in, play hard, and just do what he needed to do. They were defending, they were shooting the ball, just causing a ruckus, and he's brought that to the Sacramento Kings. And what the Kings are doing, he has De'Aaron Fox playing at all-star level. Headband Herter, balling. Obviously, the addition of Sabonis. I'm going to give you a couple numbers. 3rd in pace, 5th in assists, 4th offensive rating, 5th in three-point attempts, and 11th in three-point percentage. That's getting it done. That's playing hard. That's sharing the basketball. That's trusting in each other and allowing the ball to find the open player. And right now, like you said, they're sitting in 6th place right now with a winning record. If the playoffs start today, they're in the playoffs, not the play-in. And that says a lot about what Mike Brown is doing.
I always love when like the anchors are like, right. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I know that Vince played here going back 5 years ago.
For a year.
Yeah, 2017. I get that.
Was it really that long?
But still, Vince played in the NBA for like 42 years. Like he knows the game. And I love Vince for it.
Yeah.
I said it today. Vince Carter is literally one of my favorite players ever. I loved him at North Carolina. Like I remember the crazy dunks at North Carolina, and then I remember, of course, the dunk contest and all that. But he was always one of my favorite players. But he knows the game, and he's out there telling you, like, here's the statistics to back this up. This team is fun. This team is good, and that's happening on a nationally televised program on ESPN. Okay, then we have Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons has long been known to kind of go after De'Aaron Fox.
And
right?
the Kings in general.
Yeah, and the Kings in general. Like Fox can't close games. And, well, Bill Simmons is now jumping on the bandwagon. Big time. Here was Bill on his Ringer podcast.
As a team, I thought this was crazy. And I looked like a couple times because I was like, this can't be right. They're almost a 50-40-80 team percentage-wise. 50% field goal, 38% three, 79% free throw. And I don't know, when you watch them, it passes the eye test. I think they have a real home court advantage. Their fans are great. It's a top 5 crowd this year for whatever reason, and that there's a real energy. And they're 9-6, but they really could be like 12-3. They kind of gave away a couple games early. But I think the Kings are for real. I do. I think the offensively, even though it's not going to be at this level, I think a lot of what they do is sustainable, because you mentioned like the Sabonis Fox thing really works. And I think Murray's going to get better as the year goes along. And I think they're good at home. I think that matters. Sacramento, like those fans are like ready to roll. They show up and they're loud. So I don't know. There's an energy with them that I like.
I don't know why Bill's surprised by that. I mean, that to me just shows that he has not watched a lot of Sacramento Kings games.
Watkins found like the one nitpick.
I caught that immediately.
Yeah, I was like,
we all caught it, but Chris, is that your major takeaway still?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Even when he's complimenting them, he still finds a way to get a jab. And I'm personally a Bill Simmons guy.
Can you not take the 90% good that he said?
Because here's the thing is like, what has been like the thing that has been consistently good about the Kings is the crowd.
Listen,
and he said surprisingly.
I know it was. I'm not disagreeing with you guys that it was.
He's coming after us personally.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying it. He said a lot of good stuff. He did say a lot of good stuff. He said a lot of good stuff about the fans and the team.
Sure.
It was a foolish comment about.
Can I say?
I don't know why I'm. And all that stuff about the fans.
He does have Sacramento knowledge, because I have to give him this credit. When he had Greta Gerwig, he did Lady Bird, which is set here in Sacramento. He said the most unrealistic thing about that movie was it was set in 2002, and not one person said anything about the Sacramento Kings.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, yeah, you couldn't go anywhere.
Listen, you can say what you want about Bill and his opinions. I will say this, though. I will give him credit here. He watches.
Absolutely.
He watches a lot of NBA. The dude is a fiend.
Yeah.
So at least he's unlike Josiah Johnson, who taking shots at the Kings and couldn't name the starting 5.
Right.
Simmons does watch. Whether you agree or disagree with his takes, he does actually watch the product. But yeah, he was totally off on the fans. I get that. We talked about how great the fan base is and has been. But other than that, I'm just saying, you might feel a little bit better, MJF, if you focused on the 95% good that he said.
I hear you.
But you can't deny entertainment. And I think nationally, slowly, you're starting to see kind of this rolling ball effect, right? Where people are starting to talk about him. Chris Mannix talked about him before the season and said, I think they could be pretty good.
Yep.
Spears, but obviously he's from 2 hours down the road. But, Mark Spears was another guy saying it. Zach Lowe has been consistent saying, no, this is going to be a fun team. We played Mike Schur from the Dan Le Batard show a couple of weeks ago, and he said like the Kings are like one of his favorite watches, and that they're actually fun and pretty good. So it's slowly picking up momentum. And look, I did national radio for a little while for ESPN. I know how these things work. It's not going to happen overnight. Like, you've got to slowly turn that machine. And I think the machine is starting to turn, and they're showing the highlights, and they're talking about that's how it works. Yeah. They do have their heads buried in LA and New York. I'm guaranteeing you that. I know that. But you start to see that slow turn and the slow gaining of respect, which I think is absolutely fantastic. They can't deny this team's fun to watch. They can't deny this team's talented. They can't deny this team right now today would be a playoff team. Yeah. Because all of those are facts. You can't deny facts. So get the feelings out the way.
Yeah, and the scary thing for me as a Kings fan or someone who has been emotionally invested in this national media roller coaster that we're in is they have to keep performing well. Yep. Because the second that they don't, people are going to be so quick to say, oh, these are just the same old guys, same old Kings. And it's as a matter of fact, it's going to happen. The Kings are, I don't believe the Kings are going to finish 15, 20 games above 500. No. They're going to play a lot of 500 basketball throughout this season. People are going to turn sour on the Kings. So let's enjoy it while we can. But I'm also going to take note of these same people that are praising the Kings. They're going to quickly turn the second it's convenient for them in the second. Because it's just, I get it. It's just easy. Not everyone can be like Bill Simmons and watch every basketball game and actually have some real knowledge. So it's just easy to kind of default and do the LOL Kings thing.
Yep. It's exactly what happens. There's a lot of defaulting to like what you have built into your own head and your history. And
when you assume that you don't have a bunch of Sacramento fans listening, you assume that it's the other 29 markets and people, they're not going to know that, the Kings are actually getting better defensively, even though they're losing games, they're figuring things out. They don't care about any of that. They're just like, again, they're just defaulting to what's easy and what, just to get past the segment. That's all it really is.
But this is how it happens. It's a slow burn. You got to start building the process, starting to get the attention, and you're doing that. Thanks to Verlad. Great job as always. JJ as well. Watkins, C-Dub, it was fun. Ramie, hopefully back tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll be back tomorrow. I'm sure we'll talk plenty of Kings tomorrow. We also got an NFL Friday, Football Friday coming up. That should be some fun. Until then, it's Cattles, it's Ramie, it's Sactown Sports.
Kevin Herter